What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is A History of Violence. A History of Violence is a 2005 crime drama film that was directed by David Cronenberg and is based on the 1997 novel of the same name written by John Wagner and Vince Locke. I should also mention that this film was first requested to me by Daniel Luco on my The Road review that I released back on the 1st of September. Okay, so A History of Violence takes place in the small town of Millbrook, Indiana, where a man named Tom Stahl, played by Viggo Mortensen, is living a quiet, reserved life with his wife and 2 children. Well, Tom's life changes forever one night when 2 dangerous men walk into a diner that Tom owns and pull out pistols, threatening the lives of everyone there. Tom eventually subdues these men and kills them both in self-defense, and this story gains quite a bit of traction because Millbrook is a small town where nothing really bad ever happens. After this, some mysterious men show up and want to ask Tom some questions about the event as well as his past, and the rest of the film is spent watching Tom and his family attempt to deal with these strange men who have an interest in Tom for a very specific reason. Okay, so I was pretty enthralled by this experience right from the get-go. One thing I will caution you about though is that this film is not going to be for everyone because a lot about it feels very 2005. It holds up decently well, but I think if you're a movie lover who really values current cinematic standards and style, then History of Violence might not be for you. I can't say it didn't bother me sometimes, but it is important to at least keep in mind the release date of the film because I think most of us naturally want to apply modern cinematic standards to older films we watch in a sort of retroactive kind of way. It's really hard not to. I think the biggest 2 dated examples of this are in the acting performances and the narrative choices. Sometimes the way the characters deliver their lines feels a little bit unnatural and contrived, for lack of a better term. I think I found this to be the case at least occasionally with all the acting performances besides Viggo Mortensen and Ed Harris. The rest of the actors in this film definitely are not bad, let me just make that clear, but they have their moments where it feels like they're acting. Viggo Mortensen, on the other hand, is absolutely great in this film. Tom's the main character, so needless to say he gets the most screen time, but to me he was clearly the best actor in this film. He flips the switch and goes into this like animalistic trance whenever he's presented with serious conflict, and you see Tom become much more violent and capable than you think he would be. Viggo Mortensen, I think, has to be one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood even today because he has pulled off some seriously impressive roles over the course of his career. I mean, you go from Aragorn in Return of the King in 2003 to Tom Stahl in 2005, which is a vastly different character with an entirely different expectation. And Viggo's performance always manages to keep you surprised at every turn. You just don't know what Tom has or will become at any point in time. I also really enjoyed Ed Harris in this film. I know him as the man in black from Westworld mostly, but in A History of Violence, he gives off a fairly similar vibe. He plays a man named Carl Fogarty who wants to question Tom about his past, and he did such a great job being mysterious and generally pretty scary. He was great as Carl because of how confident yet creepy he was at the same time. Okay, so I previously mentioned that sometimes the narrative choices feel 2005. There are a couple scenes sprinkled throughout this film that just sort of escalate in ways that don't entirely feel all that fluid in their progression. One example I'll give you is one scene in the film where Tom and his wife Edie, played by Maria Bello, are arguing and getting physical with one another, and then they just start having sex on the staircase. I think the film kind of makes a bit of a logic jump, and in these sort of situations it doesn't feel like 2 + 2 = 4, if that makes sense. Another one is when Edie is just talking to Tom and she's a little distressed but nothing too crazy, and then randomly she just starts bawling and the scene feels overacted. And as I'm saying this, it doesn't sound that unreasonable, but when you watch it unfold on screen, it just plays out way too abruptly. Other than a few scenes here and there though, this story is very, very well constructed. It almost feels more like a mystery thriller style film to me than anything else, because most of the time you're going to be wondering whether Tom is actually this entirely different person that these mysterious men believe him to be. There's a lot of mystery surrounding Tom as a character because as the viewer you get to see little glimpses into his more violent tendencies, and this will make you question whether these men are right about him or not. There's a lot of tension and suspense and drama whenever Tom and his family interact with these men, and this actually made me feel like I had to keep watching and find out the truth about Tom, a man that some believe to be completely harmless and some others believe to be very, very dangerous. I think what a lot of really hardcore movie lovers will really enjoy about A History of Violence is how subjective its core subject matter is. I interpret it as a commentary on how our society views the justification of violence in certain circumstances and how engaging in violent acts can completely change how you not only view the world, but who you are as a person. I can't go into too much more detail than that for risk of hitting spoiler territory, but I'll just say that when Tom is forced to dive into the realm of violence, he is a fundamentally different person. And finally, the last thing I want to discuss is the ending. I think it was so well done because, like the rest of the film, it's up for interpretation. It raises a lot of questions and then leaves them unanswered, which doesn't always work well, but here it totally did because it parallels the film's tone. It leaves you wanting more but then doesn't give it to you. Instead, it allows your mind to fill in the gaps and decide for yourself where our characters go from here, and it was fantastically done. But overall, I think A History of Violence is a very good mystery thriller style film. I thought it had a brilliant performance from its leading actor, a very well written and mysteriously tense story, fantastically interpretive commentary on its core subject matter, and a great ending. Sadly, I also felt some of the acting performances felt a bit flat, and some scenes felt a little unnatural in their progression. I'm gonna give A History of Violence an 8.5 out of 10, and recommend you give this one a watch if you're interested in mystery style thriller films with important subject matter. So did you guys see A History of Violence yet? What did you think of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if not, let me know whether you'd be interested in watching this film or not. And as always, if you like this video, click that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for much more content like this. Thanks again to Daniel Luco for the request, whose channel link you can find in the description below. Before we wrap up, I want to let you guys know that I actually stream on Twitch occasionally, and if you like video games, you should check out my channel over there. I usually play Last of Us Online or something else like that, so make sure to check that out and you can watch my gaming skills and all their mediocrity. Just a quick bit of self-promotion. So that's all for now though. This is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.